Last week, Pete Hegseth sent out this notice to nearly 800 generals in the U.S. military from around the world, summoning them back to Washington this week for reasons that were pretty unclear to everybody. Nobody really knew what was about to happen. It led to a lot of speculation about why someone could possibly be gathering all of the most important military leaders in the U.S. in one place, which was also a questionable security risk. And so people thought it had to be for something important. After all of that speculation, Hegseth and Trump came out and actually just said they were gathering everybody in Quantico this week so they could roll out the new warrior ethos of the Department of Defense. I am not going to call it the Department of War. It turns out, after this meeting happened today, it could have probably just been an email. It was this kind of long, classic, anti-woke speech that Hegseth is used to giving, where he kind of talked about these new policies of the Department of Defense. And this is some of the stuff he had to talk about initially. Let's play that clip.
To remove the social justice, politically correct, and toxic ideological garbage that had infected our department. To rip out the politics. No more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit. I've made it my mission to uproot.
So here we have Hegseth saying that he's done politicizing the Department of Defense, which obviously is all we've seen him do since he took over as secretary of this department. He spent his whole summer renaming ships that he thought were quote unquote too woke, doing stuff that does nothing to keep Americans safer. There was nothing in this speech about, strategy or recruiting or readiness on anything. It was about, wokeness and stuff that he has spent his entire tenure at the department politicizing. And he went on rants about women in the military and fat generals and physical standards. And it was just laundry list of stuff and a laundry list of complaints, but no actual smarts or strategy. It was just a lot of, fragile, frail masculinity that was sort of masquerading as strength in this whole thing. And one of the things that was most troubling in this whole speech was this new policy that he is rolling out around reporting complaints. So let's play that clip and we'll talk about it on the other side.
We are overhauling an inspector general process, the IG, that has been weaponized, putting complainers, ideologues, and poor performers in the driver's seat. We're doing the same with the equal opportunity and military equal opportunity policies, the EO and MEO at our department. No more frivolous complaints, no more anonymous complaints, no more repeat complainants, no more smearing reputations, no more endless waiting, no more legal limbo, no more sidetracking careers, no more walking on eggshells.
And the really concerning part about this clip is him taking away anonymous complaints in the military. That is something in a system that is used for people, men and women, but particularly women in general, to report sexual assault that happens in the military. They do it anonymously because they do not want to be subject to, repercussions for making that decision and being brave and coming forward on something like a sexual assault. What Hegseth is doing here is removing the ability for women to do that in the military. Someone who has a laundry list of sexual assault allegations against themselves, whose own mother called him an abuser of women, is taking away the core mechanism for women in the military to report sexual assault. Just sit with that for a second. That is not something that makes the military stronger or safer or more cohesive. It is something that benefits, people who are doing the wrong thing. And, there were so many policies in there today that were announced that are just wrong like that. And then there are also these moments that are just purely cringe, where he is sitting in front of, the top military brass, people who are respected and have spent their entire careers in the military, becoming respected generals. And he's rattling off lines like this to them during his speech. Let's take a look.
Precision and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, To our enemies, F-A-F-O. If necessary, our troops can translate that for you. Another way to put it is peace through strength, brought to you by the warrior ethos. And we are restoring both.
I know that military generals are not going to be up on their feet and hooting and hollering and doing all of that, but Hegseth received polite but very minimal responses and applause throughout this speech. I'm sure a lot of these generals were just thinking, what am I doing here listening to this person give a bunch of empty words about personality and strength and masculinity without actually presenting any real reason for them to be there in the first place? And I think Trump obviously took notice of that muted response to Hegseth's speech, because when he got up to give his own speech after Hegseth, this is what he had to say to the generals who were in attendance.
I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very... Don't laugh. Don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future.
Clearly something was off in this room, and Trump noticed it too. And maybe it was because this was a waste of time and money. The government is about to shut down, and Hegseth flew all of these generals in from around the world basically to showboat and give a partisan speech. It was performative. It didn't accomplish anything, and it's not necessary right now. The US military is not a partisan institution. It is supposed to be there to protect all Americans, and this speech did none of that. And I think what was concerning at the end of this too was how Hegseth wrapped up this speech and what he said to the generals who were in attendance. Let's take a look.
But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. We would thank you for your service. But I suspect, I know, the overwhelming majority of you feel the opposite. These words make your hearts full. You love the War Department because you love what you do, the profession of arms. You are hereby liberated to be an apolitical, hard-charging, no-nonsense, constitutional leader that you joined the military to be. We need you locked in on the M. Not the D, the E, or the I, not the DEI or the DIE of dime. By that I mean the M, military, of the instruments of national power.
I hope the concerned military leaders who were in the room today do the opposite of what Hegseth suggested and do not resign. If they do, the only thing that's going to happen is that Hegseth and Trump are going to replace them with people who think like them, people who think that war is cool, that empathy is weakness, and that empty words and tough talk are better than actual smarts and strategy. At the end of the day, this just ended up being pulling a bunch of military brass to America so they could get some military propaganda speech. It was toxic showboating dressed up as leadership, and it is not what the US military needs. That is it for me today. If you liked what you saw, throw a like on this video, follow the Dem Wins Media YouTube channel, follow me at buildingthebench.substack.com, and we will keep bringing you the news as you need to see it. Thanks for watching.